Hello, everyone. Welcome on into OneSoccer Today. Andi Petrillo, Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Oliver Platt, and yes, special guest joining us. That would be Jessica Lisi. I'm so happy you worked hard on your background to make sure that it was visually appealing for all of us here on the show today. Did you run out of bookcases at home? What happened?
I definitely thought this was the most appealing background in my house, so I went for it. Even the color, very gray, very
Hmm.
vibrant. So
Yeah.
yeah, I had to go with it.
Neutral.
Yeah, it's just wow, like you just popped the second you came on the show. But
You're
that's okay
welcome.
because you know what? Your background is not going to distract from what you're going to talk about here because we are in the middle of showing the SheBelieves Cup on OneSoccer. We worked together for Canada's 2-0 loss to open up the tournament against the United States, but they're coming off a rebound, a 2-0 win over Brazil. What were your takeaways from that win? And I guess just how badly did the Canadians need that?
They definitely needed the win. It is hard to go from that 2-0 loss against the US. It's not one of those things that you just bounce back from, even though it should be. So to see them get that win was great. I don't think it was their cleanest performance. I definitely think there is a lot that they have to work on in finding that attacking identity. But it is great to see that they finally were able to get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it was a key bounce back for them. As we know, everything going on off the pitch, and the players even saying head wasn't in the game. We need to keep any kind of distractions at bay because these are games, Jess, as we know, that are crucial for their World Cup preparation. So we saw a goal in the 31st minute. Vanessa Gilles scored that. We saw a goal in the 71st minute, as we're looking at right now. That courtesy of Evelyn Vienne. I want to actually jump to her first before I talk about the midfield, since we're seeing the goal. Do you think she's earned the opportunity to start?
Yeah, I'm a big Evelyn Vienne stan. I've spoken about her quite a few times. I do think that she brings something to the attack that none of the other forwards have showed that they can do so far. She is a traditional number 9. She's strong. She puts her body on the line, and she's great in that 18-yard box. If you give her half an inch, she will create something. So, we did see her ability to finish in that Brazil game, that the great timing of the volley out of the air. So I do believe that she's somebody that deserves a chance to start. Is she the answer to Canada's, lack of ability to score recently? I'm not sure. It's too early to say, but I do think that she deserves that opportunity to start in the next matchup.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Ollie? Like, because that's the big
Yeah.
question still, right? We all do feel like a broken record. We've said it is when it comes to the offense, where's Canada going to get that? I think we've all accepted that it's going to be scoring by committee, but who is just that force up front that can really scare opponents? Canada seems to still be searching for that.
I mean, I think Vienne looks like the best bet right now, and she definitely should get the start against Japan, I think, to get an opportunity to cement her place. Like, Jordan Heitzma hasn't really provided the kind of goal scoring threat that I think you need at that position, as much as she gets through a lot of work off the ball. Adriana Leon, I thought that was a bit of an awkward fit. She's better and more effective as a wide player for me. So that kind of leaves you with Vienne, unless you're going to go back to Christine Sinclair as an out and out striker, which I don't think Priestman will at this point. Vienne has a nose for goal. She's doing it for her club. She's doing it pretty regularly for Canada now. She's got a great work ethic in terms of the way she leads that line off the ball with the press as well. And I think this is going to be the biggest challenge for Bev Priestman, is that, like, from a 2019 World Cup to the Olympics, there were really very few changes to the team, right? She injected, some life in the team, certainly off the back of a disappointing World Cup, but the personnel kind of stayed the same. Now I think you have a lot of players who are making a case that there should be some changes in this team compared to what we've been used to at past tournaments, whether it's Vienne, Chloe Lacasse. I think Jade Rose is a really, really good player who's starting to look like she should be getting regular minutes at this point. Julia Grosso's obviously come in. Like, there's a few of them I think are going to change the look of this team going into the World Cup.
Hmm. Wheels.
Can I add something?
Yeah, I was coming to you. Yeah,
is
I was
it-
coming
is
straight
it-
to you. Go ahead.
Is it preposterous to suggest that maybe the greatest goal scorer of all time maybe can occupy that position for this Canadian team? Like, for whatever reason, now Sinclair's dropping a little bit deeper, more involved in the play. But I'm just looking at Canada's path through the World Cup. It's really that third game against Australia, which is make or break. You get a second place finish or a first place finish. Obviously, the first place finish preferable for matchups going forward in this tournament. This team, no matter what, and I love the fact that Bev Priestman tried some different things, pushed Ashley Lawrence forward. You're right, Ollie. Adriana Leon was a little bit of an awkward fit there, but you need to figure out what you have so you know what you're dealing with going forward. And I just look with this team. They're excellent at the back. I think they can be robust, difficult to break down in midfield. they might lack that creative spark, but wouldn't you want that player in Sinclair maybe leading the line if you don't have another option? Because I do think that you have other options that you can play in that Sinclair role within the midfield. I know there's no perfect situation. Jess, I understand what you say about Vienne, but she started, she scored 4 Canada goals. 3 of them have come when she's come off the bench. And the goal that she scored in a start was against Morocco, hardly a world beater. I think Vienne, her role might be better suited coming off the bench. And if you're looking to maybe fit a player into that role, that would be the best for this team, which their identity is defensively strong first. We saw that through the Olympics as well. Then why not put Christine Sinclair back up top? I can't think of a better player for me.
I don't think Sinclair gives you that anymore. I think that's the issue. Like, Sinclair's quality is still obviously there. Like, you see some of her touches are still excellent. She has the creative side to her game. Obviously, you can put the ball in the back of the net. The mobility isn't there anymore, if we're being frank about it. And that, I think, is a big drawback for Canada. When you talk about a team that's got to be good against the ball, if they're going to have a chance, that starts with a centre forward for me. And I just don't know if Sinclair can do that. I think that's why they're kind of hiding her as a 10.
But at the same time, Ollie, Canada's play isn't wide open where, they're playing expansive football where they're being able to take advantage of that mobility anyways. You know what I just don't think there's a perfect fit right now. Yeah. Perhaps, but in this Canadian team, I think you could
Jardo, jump on in on that. Yeah, if you want to talk about the 4 position.
Yeah, no, I'll chime with I agree with Wheels partly because I don't think Sinclair, her playing an attacking position and playing in the 10 is working. I don't think it's suited. I think that for me, I've had most success playing with a 10 in the midfield that could blow by someone, that has wheels to get by players and create. Sinclair doesn't have that, but she's prolific in and around the box and she can link up play. So it could absolutely work. I think with her and then Vienne, if you do start Vienne, she's not playing a full game. Like, even though she scored 20 goals out of 26 last appearances in the Swedish league. Like, she's maybe someone to come off and finish a game. But what I will say about this woman's side is that maybe they don't have a center forward that is strong, so direct and is quick. But maybe you can have wingers like Becky or Leon that are around a Sinclair or Vienne. So it's a hold-up play and we get in behind and go forward. So it could work, but I would just love to see Sinclair not play that attacking role because I think Fleming could do that very well and control a game and kind of be unattached and not be marked. And they could just get the most out of everyone. But that's my 2 cents for all of that.
But by the way, I'm throwing out that I'm not even convinced by my argument. It's just throwing out something, a suggestion. Like, I think it's at least
I hear you.
Think and trying it out in this upcoming game against Japan.
Well, and that's something, Jess, that we even talked about on the show, in particular after that Brazil game, because that is where Christine Sinclair came off the bench. And I remember asking you and Claire, like, is it controversial to have these types of conversations around Christine Sinclair? Because to your point, Wheels, I mean, before it was just a foregone conclusion. You're absolutely out of your mind if you don't start her. But now, we are looking at, for example, Brazil. Now, mind you, she is coming back from an ACL. This was her first time playing in almost a year. But Marta just turned 37. You see how her usage, even with Brazil, is changing a little bit. It's inevitable. Yeah. This is what happens to every athlete, when they start to get older. And I feel like it's a little difficult. It's unfortunate. Obviously, that game against the U.S., they were clearly distracted about stuff going on off the pitch because just that would have been the good measuring stick right there on if you start Sinclair against certain opponents, right? Because let's face it, they got dominated by the U.S. So I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but kind of where are you in this crossroads with Christine Sinclair?
I love Christine Sinclair. I obviously grew up idolizing her, but I do think that she has lost her spark. I do agree with Wheels that, at the end of the day, there isn't anybody that has really proven that they deserve that number 9 position. The reason I'm such an Evelyn Vienne fan is, I do think that she has that ability to score that, Adriana Leon was great. She's great on the flank. She does create a lot. She brings a lot of energy. And we've also spoke about how, is Adriana Leon better off the bench or is she, somebody that should start because she does bring so much energy off the bench. I just think that Sinclair right now, although she isn't necessarily great in that 10 position, her lack of mobility, like Ollie said, it does kind of hurt Canada when she is up front because there isn't somebody playing that number 10 role that necessarily can play off of her. So I do agree. I think Fleming would be a great person to put there because she is more mobile. She is able to make those runs in behind and break the line when Sinclair maybe can't. But yeah, I do think that Sinclair is a controversial topic for a lot of people because it's a soft spot. You know, why are you talking about the person that has basically built Canada soccer and given us the reputation that we have? But yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think necessarily that she is somebody that should be a staple anymore for Canada soccer. I think we do have to find somebody to fill that role, but I just don't know if we have it yet, which is why I'm open to seeing what VN can do up there.
And I think which is
There's
why Bev Priestman is trying all these different combinations, trying Simia
well,
Wujo, let's not forget, in that 10 position behind Adriana Leon. Also worth noting, right? Nichelle Prince, Deanne Rose dealing with injury. Those are
big
wingers,
losses.
wheels that, once they come in, you have to imagine they go in.
Big losses, but I mean,
Mhm.
what are the fitness and form going to look like come July? Also, to keep in mind, Canada is very much going to play two separate tournaments at the World Cup. Like their opening games against Ireland and Nigeria will be played one way, where most likely they're going to be able to dominate time on the ball. Then they'll play Australia. Good experience playing them twice last year in Australia, but a team that's playing a lot of home games. They're going to be buoyed by a home crowd. That game will be a little bit more difficult. And once you get into the knockout round, if you face an England, a Germany, a France, like the complexion of these games are going to be very, very different. So Bev needs to kind of think about two things at once here: how to go on and take on these opponents that you're supposed to beat, and how to still make sure that you're the best version of yourself when you're giving away possession a little bit more and forced to play a lot more defensive. As hopefully the tournament will build on
Mhm.
come the World Cup.
I think we're also having questions about what is that combination in the midfield, Jess. I think a lot of people, myself included, I obviously Jessie Fleming, and I think we like what Julia Grosso has been able to do. She's really grown into the role. She continues to hone her craft with Juventus, looking good there, being named Player of the Week numerous times. So she's shining in that league. But we've seen some different combinations as well. Like, who is that third person in the midfield with them? I'm not trying to push that pair on you. Maybe you don't want it to be Fleming and Grosso to start, but when you're looking at a combination in that midfield to end the SheBelieves Cup, which they will be playing Japan on Wednesday, right here, OneSoccer. We'll get you started at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. What does that midfield combination look like to you?
I mean, obviously, we've seen that Bev is not afraid to try new combinations. So I personally would like to see Ashley Lawrence drop in beside Grosso and have Fleming play that attacking mid role to be able to, again, we're speaking about not having that number 9 that's really making a presence right now, having someone like Fleming there who's able to really go at that back line and break the lines and do everything you want out of an attacking mid would be my ideal situation. I would love to see Grosso and Lawrence play next to each other. Will that happen? I'm not sure. And if she doesn't feel comfortable, dropping Lawrence there based on, not necessarily the best performance, I don't think she was utilized correctly playing up front. It kind of took away from her strengths. But I do think that, Simia Wujo could be also a great fit there. She did look a little uncomfortable playing as the 10 role. She is more of a defensive player even for USC. So I do think that ideally I would like Lawrence and Grosso with Fleming in front of them. But if that doesn't work out, you could have an Awujo or possibly a Quinn next to a Grosso as well.
What do
But
you like,
Fleming
Ollie?
needs to be there.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't have any objections to seeing Ashley Lawrence in there in that deep midfield role. I think that's something we'd all be interested to see. I still think personally that maybe she's best utilized at fullback for Canada, just because she is clearly the best fullback they have. So I would probably go. I'd like to see Grosso and Quinn at the base of midfield with Fleming in front of them. I know Quinn missed the second game. I think it was sickness, if I remember correctly, or injury of some kind. So that would be a combination I'd like to see. I think Quinn has played well for Canada consistently, paired with Grosso and allowing Fleming to get into that advanced role. I think would be interesting. But it's another one where it's a big challenge for Priestman, because you're going from a group. It's a group that's changed a lot, right? You've had Desiree Scott, Sophie Schmidt, Diana Matheson for so long, Jessie Fleming in there as well as kind of the junior member of that group. Now Fleming is like the most senior player, right? And you're trying to plug in, Grosso or Wujo, some of these young options are around her. So it's going to be a tough one, I think, for Priestman to kind of figure out how much she sticks with kind of more proven players versus bringing in some of the young talent there.
Yeah.
I like Jade Rose at right back, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I think oftentimes we get obsessed with formations because that's the way they line up. But like what Pep Guardiola is doing with Man City right now, without a natural left back, things shift. You have 3 more defensive players. That left-sided player can go forward. I think there's different ways that Bev Priestman can approach this. And once again, when the going gets tough, we saw this in the Olympics, Canada's going to have to rely on their defensive resolve and be stable at the back in order to go deep in this tournament. And I just don't see Canada with their fullbacks flying forward with any kind of regularity. That's why I completely agree with Jess. I would love to see Ashley Lawrence in the midfield, because I think she plays a critical role in just distribution, the legs I think she could play a real role there. And the fullbacks for this team, I just think that the style of play that they're going to play, it's not as important as some other areas of the field.
Yeah, also worth noting, Jade Riviere, she's dealing with injury too. So we had a chance to see Jade Rose. But that's the thing, Jordan, right? Like, we do want to see Ashley Lawrence move up, but we've had this conversation about who's that left fullback. I mean, Claire Rustad, our analyst during the SheBelieves Cup as well, feels like there are questions, period, about Canada's fullbacks, but I wonder if there's just more on that left fullback. I don't know, Jordan, what are you thinking of this whole combination?
Yeah, I think obviously in an ideal world, you could push Ashley Lawrence and you could feel good. But I think in a tournament, you just want to know you have the confidence in your left and right back that they can handle 1v1 situations for 90 minutes, that they're not going to buckle. So how that plays out, I don't know. What I will say is that, just to touch on what Wheels was saying about formation, some people get caught up so much in, how we're trying to play, but what is it really is like the role of the players. Like, is it 2 down, 1 up, whatever you're doing in the midfield? It's like, what is your role? So in terms of with Fleming, what I really like about her, if you're watching games, she's the one that is dictating the play. What would be really nice for Canada, since they're, I would say, struggling a bit offensively to find their groove, to have her a bit higher up the pitch. So she's controlling the tempo, but not getting it from center backs 80 yards from the opponent's goal. She's getting it 30, 40 yards, so she can maybe dictate the play. And what also happens sometimes as an attacking player is that your role is you're more free, so you can get the ball wherever you want. When she's getting it right now as a deep lying 6 with Grosso and whatnot, if it was Grosso and Quinn or whoever would want to play there, having Fleming higher up could just allow her to get into situations where, like, she doesn't have that defensive role. She can focus on connecting. So that's what real change I want to see. But who plays behind her, that's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, so we'll find out what combination Bev Priestman goes with her starting 11 final game. They'll be taking on Japan. Vanessa Gilles, after scoring that goal in the first half, she came out in the second. Knock on wood. And you're right, Ollie. Like, we heard Quinn is dealing with an injury. You always, with an illness. And you always start to get a little worried when you hear about an illness, because you don't want it ripping through the team. Although we also know Vanessa Gilles, she was out quite a few months with a hip injury, just made a return back in the fall. So you wonder, a little bit where her fitness is at, but we'll see what Bev Priestman decides to go with in the final game at the SheBelieves Cup. Jess, next time we have you on, I'm expecting just something new to your background, like maybe a bird you paint on the wall. Just one thing.
I like that background. I like
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I think it really
class.
shows this vibrance of my personality. I think it really
Yes.
Focus on number
I also
one.
think it'd just be really funny if you just add one little thing each time.
Maybe like
masterpiece.
Jordan made a good point. Maybe like a little medal or something. Just
Gay Ontario Cup medal. If you're a champion,
like
you
my
won
youth
Ontario
days.
Cup, you put that, you hang it up.
Show off your
I'm gonna bring
trophy.
mine out for Thursday, guys. It was a different era, but
Come on,
I got one. I got one.
Dude.
What year was that, Wheels? Tell me the year. What year was that?
Oh, my first one, 1990.
Come on, baby.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
1996. Jess, were you born yet? That's mine.
no. I was born
This
in
is
98.
my
No.
under 17. Under 17.
Who'd you play for, Andi? Is this Woodbridge?
This is all your
Who'd
not
you
well,
play for this
Maple,
time?
Vaughn. We went Vaughn. Woodbridge
Okay.
Strikers were our arch enemies. No, we
Look at
were
this.
Vaughn
So you like to get
Lightning,
Woodbridge.
baby.
I played for Woodbridge, so I played for Vaughan for most of my childhood, but I did go to
And we're
Woodbridge. So
hanging up on you
Yeah,
right
okay,
now.
fair
But we
enough.
established this already. We know she played for Woodbridge 1,000 years after me. Jess, love the analysis. We'll see ya when Canada takes on Japan. That is Jess Lisi, former national youth player for Canada, joining us here on OneSoccer Today.